Welcome back to the Top Latinos podcast. Today's episode is one that will move you, challenge you, and ultimately inspire you. Joining us is Francisca Nunez, a public figure, community activist, domestic violence coach, and human rights advocate whose story is nothing short of transformational. Originally from Puerto Rico and now based in Paterson, New Jersey, Francesca has spent over a decade empowering survivors and turning her personal pain into a powerful mission of purpose. After overcoming one of the darkest chapters of her life, Francesca made a decision not just to survive, but to help others do the same. Through her coaching, her advocacy, and her podcast, No Longer Silent, she's giving a voice to those who once felt voiceless. Her work has impacted countless lives, especially young people under the age of 25, helping them understand that their story doesn't end in trauma, it can begin again in strength. Francesca, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here with you and finding me too. So thank you so much. The honor is, oh my God, the honor is.
Well, trust us, the honor is ours, believe me. And if we can start, your story is incredibly powerful. Can you take us back to the moment you realized your pain had a greater purpose?
Um, like any other woman, when you get married, you think it's, beautiful, a long time, long time commitment. And I always picture myself like in a white dress and marrying my partner, going all together. But unfortunately, it wasn't like that. I can be honest that 6 years in the relationship, it was good. But after that, it spiraled. It was, stuff that he did to me that was, not appropriate. There was a lot of physical abuse, there was a lot of verbal abuse that I endured. A lot had to do with, alcohol down the line. The patterns of the attitude, how he addressed me was, not the norm. And there was, if I go into depth of some of the stuff he has done to me, I have no problem. But when you're in a marriage, there's supposed to be a lot of respect, communication. There shouldn't be slaps. There shouldn't be punches. There was like more along the line that eh, our encounters weren't, there was sexual assaults during the marriage frequently. And that really, had me thinking, why would you, do that? And sometimes I get questioned as, it's consensual. It's not consensual. Sexual assault is sexual assault, even if it's your husband, and if no is no. So it's not consensual. That's not, think that it is. So once that started happening, and he sent me to the hospital on several occasions where, he broke my ankle. And many a times was the I'm sorry, it'll never happen again. I never believed that. So throughout the years, I started losing, love for him. It started converting into anger. I could actually say hate. But what drew the line for me was when, he actually, it was New Year's Eve. He did something that I ultimately like, said, that's it, no longer. He tried to kill me in front of my daughter
Mm.
with a butcher knife, and he was under the influence. And that day, a lot happened. My daughter woke up. She was only 16. She woke up. And when she saw him like that in the living room, she told me to run in the bathroom. And, of course, I ran in the bathroom. But when I thought about him holding that knife and literally screaming that he's going to kill me, I meditated in the bathroom and I started thinking, like, the mother's role is to protect your child. And I said, she's telling me to run in the bathroom. And I meditated and I said, God, for many years I asked you to get me out of this relationship. And I ask you now to do it not my way, your way. And I exited the bathroom, proceeded to go down the hallway. And I said, whatever happens tonight, as long as my daughter don't get hurt, I'm good. And I always say we serve an amazing God because that night, I guess whatever screams and stuff the neighbors heard, I heard the footsteps of my daughter walking down the stairs, and it was officers that came like roughly 3 o'clock in the morning. He hid the knife underneath the dining room table and sat there. And, when I tell my story, I tell people not to judge the actions that led to that he could have got arrested that night, but he didn't. I proceeded to go into the room and I put a turtleneck on to cover the bruises, and the cops were not stupid. So instead of removing him from the household, they removed me and my daughter. We went to my sister-in-law's house. And I can say that after that, enough was enough. I did go back to the house and left my daughter at my sister-in-law's house, and I knew what I was walking into, and he was in the bedroom, and I tapped him and I said, I need you to leave in 24 hours. Like, get your stuff out of here. He just mummed and I left. The only thing I heard is that when I went back to my sister-in-law's house, my daughter was not there. And I was frantic. I asked her what happened. She said a car pulled up. She got in it and she left. And she did. I did find out who she stayed with. It was my brother. Once I called him, he was like, "Listen, you're not gonna talk to her right now." She told me what went down. And in my head is that I never wanted her to think I went back to him and abandoned her. I went to free us. So for 3 years, she thought I went back to him. And that's the hurt I had from leaving him and losing in the midst of my daughter because of my actions were of love, but I lost 3 years of her life.
Hmm.
And I was not involved because she thought I went back to him when I didn't. So I happily divorced 2014 of April the 6th. And for 1 year, throughout the relationship, he kept saying I was ugly, stupid. I want to go back to school. I wanted to model. And for 1 year, I started reinventing myself, started thinking like, look in the mirror, see what you see. If there's something wrong, fix it. If there's nothing, move on. And I was on a mission to talk about domestic violence, that I shouldn't be ashamed of what he did to me. I should talk freely what he did, that women are no longer here. And I survived that. So there was a reason and a purpose to it. So that's why I launched the No Longer Silent, where, I have helped more than 10 women get out of toxic relationship, have walked them through restraining orders, complaints, and proceeded helping them that they go to court because love is not supposed to hurt. So I literally turn my pain to purpose.
Crazy.
Yeah.
If I want to follow up on something that caught my ear, even after he chased you with a knife, you still put a turtleneck on, not to
No,
get him. Oh,
no. I was in the bathroom. And that was like do or die for me. It's either that day I die or I confront them and fight. And when the cops came, as I started walking down the hallway, there was the doorbell rang. I heard my daughter run down. We lived on the second floor. She ran down the stairs and I heard the officers come up. So as they were coming up, I ran into the bedroom and I put a turtleneck. I, if I could go back and had the courage to say, he hurt me, look at my bruises, he would have been arrested because I had a witness, my daughter. And whenever I tell my story, I tell people, don't judge me in that part because at the end of the day, I didn't think about me. I thought about what his mother would say. He had children from a previous relationship. And I didn't think about me at that moment. I thought more about what his mother's gonna say, his children. So people started understanding, despite what he did to me, I forgave him, not for him, but for myself, so I could move on because I know there was a purpose to what happened. There's a reason to why I'm alive and survived that.
I did do a lot of research about domestic violence, and remaining silent is obviously is not just unique to you. Why do you think so many victims do remain silent? Is it because
Some
of
are,
the thoughts, like you said, like his mom, or those other
yeah.
thoughts that you have?
And there's also more stuff, financial, the children, what people would say. Um, Normally that's the feedback, I get from some that are trying to leave the relationship. And I'm gonna tell you, it is hard. I'm not gonna lie. When I left them, I had an apartment that was $1,200. I had children, I had my daughter. There was cable, there was food, there was phone, and there was just one source of income, mine. And I said, can I do this? Will we become homeless? And I just gave it to God and I said, listen, I'm a nurse. If I have to take another job, I'll take another job. But we are not going to be homeless. And I thought to myself, I'm not the only one. So I actually am proof that you can overcome and don't be scared. There's no problem taking on a second, third job and hustle, but you can. If you want to, you can overcome.
Amazing, amazing. And you said in 2014 is when you finally left.
Yes, divorced,
Okay.
free.
And now 12 years later, we're here where we are today. What was the hardest part of transitioning from survivor to advocate?
The hardest part
I'm
to
sure you didn't speak about this openly in the beginning.
no, no, to be honest, before I proceeded to do anything, I spoke to my son. And later on, I did establish a relationship with my daughter. It's still a strain, but we're there. But I did speak to them to say, listen, I'm going to go on many platforms. There was people that wanted to interview me, and it was going to be like open, Amazon, everywhere, any platform you can think of. But before I did anything, I asked my children, are you okay with me speaking of what I went through? I'm not ashamed of it or scared, but I thought about them. I thought about that once they see me, their friends are going to say, oh, your mother went through. So I needed to get their approval before I even proceeded. And once I did, that's it. They were just like, Mommy, I'm so proud of you. You are helping people. But to me, if my kids would have said no, I would have advocated in a different way because I never looked to hurt my children in any way. But once they gave me that green light, it was just like, let's go, Francesca.
Yeah. Yeah. If I can ask, because you said that there were many different types of abuse that took place, financial or sexual, physical. What are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about abusive relationships?
Some the misconceptions that sometimes they have is that they don't believe. They don't believe. Sometimes they'll say we add extra, but what you see, me, I'm very transparent. I don't look like what I went through. Some people be like, oh my God, to look at me in person, pictures, they be like, but you don't look. And I asked myself, what is a domestic violence was it supposed to look like though? Not being funny or sarcastic, but I did go through that, but I had to go through a process. It took me a whole year to trust. It took me a whole year to love myself at the same time and believe that, I can accomplish anything. So anything that I started doing education wise, modeling wise, being featured in magazine, it all took a process. It wasn't something overnight that I wanted to do because I had to look from within and believe in myself and say, you absolutely beautiful. You can do this. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes I get flashbacks of what he did to me. And that's something that the mind, I can't control. I'm not far from perfect, but yeah, I don't let it define me.
Yeah, and now you have the green light from your children, so you're full
Yeah,
steam ahead. Um, is that what inspired you to launch No Longer Silent?
absolutely. Absolutely. Because teenagers go through domestic also. Um, when I say I tap into the 25 under and over, some of them, when they get into the relationship, a partner's supposed to love you for who you are and not change you. And some of the teenager girls that get in a relationship, when they're allowed the boyfriends to say, I don't want you to wear this, I don't like it. You should feel comfortable wearing what you want to wear and not someone telling you or controlling you what to wear or look for that approval. Also, when they have friends and families, they start isolating them from that and they think that's love. It's not love.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard some impactful stories. Um, how do you create a safe space for your guests to share such vulnerable experiences?
First, if I interview anyone in my podcast, I want them to be comfortable. I emphasize that a lot. And also, whatever they want to disclose, because I look for their safety. I don't want them triggered. And half of the time, I've been very successful where they tell me, if you can do it, I can do it. And I do follow up, because I know telling your testimony is the first step. It's not something easy. You're dreading back the past. So I know what it feels like. So anybody that I interview, I do text them. I do allow them to call me and we talk and we really bond. I bond with my interviewers because I can relate.
Yeah, and you did say again that you do focus heavily on the under 25 population. Why is that age group so critical?
Because you see a lot of the domestic violence in teenagers, like I said, sometimes when they, relationships start loving, beautiful, is a wonderful experience when you're in a relationship because you love that person, butterflies in your stomach. But then as it spirals more and more, you don't know who you're hooking up with. They could start showing red flags along the road, and I seen that with teenagers. I've had a couple that would call me and be like, he's telling me not to wear this. He got angry the other day. He did this to me. And I saw one that had a black eye, and I said, how did you get that? Oh, he was, angry because I was talking to so and so and he just hit me. And I was like, love is not supposed to hurt. If you're talking to that person and when he met you, that person was in your life as a friend, he shouldn't have to change that. So I see that more and more a lot in the teenagers, and they think that it's love. Oh, he loves me because he does this. And they look for excuses. But no more excuses because if he starts verbal and then physical, the next step is hospital or
Yeah,
under the ground.
yeah. Those are the early warning signs
Yeah,
that young people should look for.
absolutely. Very important.
For someone listening right now who may be in that situation, what is the first step that they should take?
If they're teenagers, I would say talk to your parents. Talk to your parents. And and I understand some families are dysfunctional. And if you can't get through that avenue and your school, there's counselors that will listen and guide you to the proper, resources to speak up. But parents and a counselor. A counselor will always listen to you and will tell you, this is wrong. We're going to help you. What's your next step? I always don't push, get out right away. My thing is, what do you want to do? How do you want me to help you? I don't immediately say leave because you never know if they want to leave that person. And you want them to continue to speak to you either or, but be acceptance and meet them halfway.
Yeah. We spoke a little before the interview, and I told you that I do follow you on social media. And I did see one post where you were reaching out to men that were victims as well. Um, does domestic violence is often seen as something that primarily affects women, but if you're reaching out, men can be victims as well. And what does that look like in reality?
Absolutely, men can be abused. I've had men also come on my podcast and openly has said, you know, my girlfriend is doing this to me, verbal. I had one that said it was physical. So can a woman sexual assault? Yeah, of course. It's had happened, and I've had men tell me how it has happened, but you know, the men are perceived masculine. That can't happen to them. Absolutely, they can go through verbal and physical abuse. So I'm actually invoking men to speak up that you do go through that. You do go through verbal. We got good men that are wonderful with women, but we have women that are, you know, are husky and tough and want it their way, and they tolerate it. I have one that I mentored last year that actually said I stay with her because of the children. And she physically abuses him. When I say physically abuses him, she punches him, throws frying pans. And I say, why do you allow that? I say, because my children.
Yeah. So obviously there are some challenges that men face. Like you said, men are supposed to be masculine.
Yeah,
Um, and I have to imagine that there's still a stigma around men, just openly admitting as well that they're in an abusive relationship. What advice would you give to a man listening right now who may be experiencing abuse but feels ashamed as well or afraid even to come forward?
absolutely. Not to be ashamed, to speak up and that he's not alone. Absolutely not alone. And it's credible to say that, yes, not laugh about it, proceed like any other woman with a restraining order complaints. Men are capable of raising their own children, keep receipts of all the stuff that's going on. And in my experience, have I had enough information like complaints and stuff, the outcome for me would have been better. But now, because of the knowledge I have, file complaints as many times. Go to the courts. Men have a right to have custody of their own children when there's physical and verbal abuse. So you're not alone, and speak up and don't be ashamed.
Yeah. And I know you're active in the community. Um, in my research, I believe you're a member of the Inner City Council in Paterson.
Yes.
How have you been able to influence change at the community level?
I, Listen, that has been an amazing support. I am the first woman in the city of Patterson to have brought domestic violence awareness in 2022. And the help that I get and the team that I have in my circle that support me, I have done wonders in the city of Patterson. And I am the person that they call me like the domestic violence lady. Go to Francesca, go to Francesca. She has resources, she can help, she'll listen. And I really do. If someone calls me and say I'm in a situation, I don't care if I'm on the phone with you for 2, 3 hours. So at least you're safe and I can get you out of there. So I'm the domestic violence girl in the city of Patterson, put it that way. And I have done a lot. I've done a lot of workshops also on mental health. I've spoken many places, but I try to do every year 2 or 3 platforms to educate, and all are welcome, men, the teenagers, the women, and is an open forum to speak and to let them know you're not alone and pass the information along.
That's nice. So you're being recognized for your advocacy. Um, what does that mean to you personally?
Wow. First, I just give thanks to God. Also, not only am I a mother, I am a grandmother of 4 grandbabies. And the oldest, that's 10, to have him tell you, Grandma, I want to be just like you. I love what you're doing. And he sees what I'm doing. And to have a little person, especially your grandson, tell you that, it speaks volumes for me. It gives me more inspiration, you know, the outcome to just keep going. And knowing that if I did an impact on my own grandson, then I know what I'm doing is meaningful.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you've been around the system for a long time. Um, a lot of positive points you have brought up, but I have to imagine, that the system does break down. It can fail victims. What do you think needs to change?
The law, the law, absolutely. Pertaining to men or women, whoever is the abuser, because I have came across many, many survivors that the perpetrator is given 10 years and the crime has been heinous. The law has to change for that. And more emphasis in believing that it's real. It's not a myth, it's happening. And to try to avoid that, we don't have deaths behind it. Don't intimidate someone that's coming to do the first step in obtaining a restraining order or filing a complaint. Let it be comfortable. I have came to those situations where I'm sorry, I have to say, I took it to the news from one domestic violence survivor walking in to do a complaint, and they were just laughing about it. And the girl was there till 2 in the morning with a newborn baby and a black eye. So there should be no intimidation. You should take that serious because walking to the police station is the first step. Many don't even make it. So intimidation is a no-no because it's very hard to report that situation, and the laws definitely have to be changed. Perpetrators are not getting the time sufficient that they should get. And I've had interviewed so many that it's been tragic, and the law is like ridiculous, I have to say. It should be more enforced.
Well, I applaud your advocacy. Um, I truly love your resilience as well. I mean, I know that you came from some very dark moments, and now you're helping people with the same situations. How do you personally decompress or protect your own mental health while doing such heavy work?
It's very hard. Mentally, it can be draining, but at the same time, I get happy when I get someone out of a situation. That's what gratifies me and fills me, but it can be draining because a lot of people, good question, a lot of people ask me, and sometimes I have to meditate and understand that when you sign up for something, it's not going to be easy. It's a long road what I signed up for. And like I tell you, I'm everywhere. People be like, "Oh, I have this event. I need you to speak." I don't, sometimes I have to travel, and it can be draining because I do a lot of stuff on the side too. But when I know I'm helping somebody, the energy comes out of nowhere, and I don't feel tired because I'm on the mission to help.
Yeah, and I know that you've mentioned God, your faith in God, quite a number of times, and I'm a believer as well. Um, was that your primary strength that kept you going during your darkest moments, or did you feed off of energy from other places as well?
I'm going to be honest. I
Go
fed
ahead.
all my energy through God. There was not a year that I didn't pray to Him and say, "Get me out of this situation. I don't want to be in it no more." Because I really didn't have family support. I got to be honest. Whenever I said something was being done to me, they didn't believe it. I have to say, in the community, they saw but didn't say anything. And I just cling to God, and He did it. I'm thankful. I'm walking into my purpose. I'm not a bitter woman. And He has done so much amazing stuff in my life that I owe everything I am to God. I really do. And He gives me that strength. He gives me that pump to keep me moving like it's time. Let's go. I'm with you. So, yeah, He's a big part of it.
You're nice. And I want to go back to something that I caught earlier, where you said that sometimes you have flashbacks. does an individual heal completely after these types of incidents? Is there hope?
To be on, to be honest, you never forget what's done to you. Absolutely not. I would be lying to say there's a silver lining at the end of the rainbow. No, because stuff like that has happened to you, you won't forget. But what I can definitely say is you can overcome and don't never let it define you. There is scars, there is pain, but I got to acknowledge this fact from last year and this year coming in. I turned them as my blueprint. So someone would ask, what's the blueprint? When you are going to build a home, you start a foundation. So I started a foundation with myself, building myself up and knowing that my scars, though they're there, but they're my blueprint to help somebody else.
Yes, yes. And I think this will segue, that answer will segue nicely into my next question. Where do you see your mission evolving over the next 3 to 5 years? And I do know that you recently published a book as well. So share with us, where do you see yourself, and tell us about the book also, because I'm glad that you're putting these thoughts, your blueprints, into print and sharing with everyone.
Absolutely. Well, from here to 3 5 years, and I'm cutting it because I'm a hustler. I would like a building, in the city of Paterson. There's really not a safe haven or a building for, domestic violence survivors to go to get, counseling, mentorship, workshops, and to help them out that even though they get out of that relationship, what's the main goal? What's the next step that you want to do so I can help you education wise, counseling wise, reestablish yourself. So my goal is to get a building here. And not only that, when God helps me, I started here in Patterson, but I would try to do my best to go global because there is a need elsewhere where I've traveled that there's no buildings to go to. There are resources, but no buildings. And as for the book, it's educational. I want people to know who is Francisca Nunez. I want them to know that what I went through, it didn't define me, that you can overcome, you can go the next level and let people know that you're not stuck in that trauma. So in my book is just going to expose a lot of stuff besides domestic violence that I went through as a child, that I went in between, and I really went real raw and graphic with my experience because that's who I am. And there is a workbook attached to it also for you to write down what you're going through. What's the next step? What's your goal? Don't stay stuck. So there's affirmations and there's little questions there to ask. Have you ever been through domestic? And it's open to, child abuse too. If you've gone through, put whatever you feel in there is a guide to help you heal and transform for you to become the best version of yourself. So that's what I'm looking into to inspire, to empower women, men, and the youth in my journey. So it's not over. You're gonna see more stuff coming. I have a nonprofit organization where I'm gonna serve everyone, men, women, teenagers. And I'm looking to, I have, and allow me to say, I have two wonderful ladies that I have partnered up that are a part of my journey, and we are all on the same mission to help me and support me along the line. And if you allow me to, I don't no longer I also have no longer signed podcast, but I do have another one of Women of Faith where women come out to speak about their testimony of domestic, anything on child abuse to educate. And I do that with Latanya Davis. She's up here.
Excellent. Excellent. If hopefully somebody listening in Paterson is going to say, "I like Francisca Nunez. Let's get her a building." I love it. I
Yes.
love it. If you could reach one person right now who feels trapped, what would you say to them?
Analyze your situation, get out of that relationship and cling to God because He is a miracle worker, but don't stay stuck in that. You know, you can leave. The hardest thing to do is leave, but don't be scared to take that step. Life is worth living. I do speak for the voiceless. Allow me to say that sometimes I have felt guilty when I see that someone passes on due to domestic violence, and I'm here, I'm alive. So that's what pumps me up on the mission to speak for the voiceless that are no longer here. And there have been beautiful women, beautiful men that passed on. And look at that situation. Look at my life. It could have been me, and it wasn't me. So never be scared to leave because you will be saving your life. And if you have
Yes.
children involved, look at your children. They need you. Do it. If not for you, do it for them.
Yeah. Such heavy work.
Yeah.
Very, very heavy. Um, for our listeners who would be interested in contacting you, what's the best way to do so? Phone number, email, social
Phone
media?
number, social media, and my phone number.
Got it. What's your number so I can highlight it for you?
Okay, so my number is 973-979-4288. And in my Facebook is Francisca Nunez. There you can message me, friend request me. You know, I'm like adopted 24/7. If you reach out to me, I do pick up my phone calls. If you leave a message, I do respond immediately. I take that very seriously because I don't know behind the call or behind the message, what are you going through? And I need to help you.
Yes. Excellent. I'll be sure to highlight that to the listeners. And, I have to apologize myself because I did know that this was going to be an incredibly powerful and necessary conversation. And I've been pestering you to come on, for some time. So I'm honored as well that you did take me up on the invitation. You are living proof that your past does not define you. Your response to it does. Your courage to speak out, to stand up, and to create space for others to heal is not just inspiring, it's life-changing. So for our listeners, if you or someone you know is struggling, remember this. Francisca has taught us that you are not alone and you don't have to suffer in silence. And Francisca, I really have to thank you for sharing your story and your journey with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Top Latino Who's Who podcast. Since 2010, we have celebrated the accomplishments of the Latino community. If you would like to be featured, go to www.toplatinos.us. Be sure to like and subscribe.